So today we have Terry Maylin from TM Law, based in Whitford. Will work basically anywhere, really. Specialising in personal injury and accident claims, employment disputes, and debt recovery. So a couple of bits about Terry. So Terry's best day out is any classic car show with his favourite toy, which is his Ford Escort XR3i. How he relaxes is suing people and then drinking wine. A dish he can cook well. Although he's not tried it yet, he is going to be cooking fish fingers in custard.
Why not?
And finally, a sentence on Terry's headstone: I sued anybody for anything. So put your hands together, Terry Maylin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All my own words. I thought, I'll just give you a quick outline of what TM Law are doing. Then I've got a topic that's not close to my heart, but it's going to be over the next few months. So, TM Law, what do we do? Well, I do all the litigation stuff for the benefit of our guests. All sorts of suing people for all sorts of things, like Bev mentioned, personal injury, landlord and tenant, commercial disputes, debt recovery, employment. My colleague Aidan does all the nice stuff. He does all the wills and the probate and all the nice touchy-feely stuff, unemployment contracts and all that kind of thing. That's the rough split between us, a bit more detail than that. So that's it. For my sins, I do a lot of landlord and tenant work, and as some of you might or might not know, there's some huge changes coming about next year. What I thought I'd do is I'll tell you where we are now, because people must panic. We've got until the 1st of May in which to work under the current regime, so don't panic. And then I'll tell you roughly what the new changes are going to be, just roughly, because there's a lot of them. And then I'm going to just open the floor to questions. If you've got properties, or you know people who've got properties, you've got a chance to ask some questions. We can knock them around. Any questions I can't answer, I'll research them for you. So that's the plan anyway. So, where are we now? We've got two avenues now. If you're a landlord who wants to recover a property, you go down a route what's commonly called a no-fault route, and it literally is that. You just serve your tenant with a notice. Provided your paperwork is in order, you will recover your property, usually without a court hearing. Fairly straightforward, very cheap. You've got the other route, which is grounds. You have to have some grounds. And at the moment, there are 17 grounds, okay? All sorts of weird and wonderful things. The most obvious ones are rent arrears or antisocial behaviour and so on. And provided that you've got those grounds, you serve the tenant with a notice again. There is a court hearing, usually not very long, 5 minutes, and you get an order of possession. So that's where we are today. It's been like that for many years. It's about to change. But although the government will have you believe it's massive changes, it kind of isn't, it kind of isn't. It's giving with one hand and taking away with the other. It's smoke and mirrors. And here's what the new law is going to be. From the 1st of May, you can't serve a tenant with a no-fault notice. Okay? That's it. That's a really big change. You've got to serve them with the other notice. You've got to have some grounds. And if you just remember, I just said there are 17 grounds at the minute. Under the new Act, do you want to guess how many grounds there are? 36. They've disguised it by calling them 1A, 1B, C and so on. So it looks like there's only 18, but actually there's 36. So it's a bit of smoke and mirrors. One of the most fundamental changes, however, are this. At the moment, you grant the tenant a tenancy for 6 months or a year or 2 years or whatever you want to do. In the new regime, there's no fixed term. Okay? Now, I'm not convinced that's a good thing. If I was a tenant, I'd quite like to have a fixed term in a year or 2 years. What's going to happen is they're all going to be called periodic tenancies, no fixed term, and going forward, the tenant can give you 2 months' notice to leave, and you can give the tenant 2 months' notice to leave, or you can give the tenant notice to leave. I won't say how long, but that's for the next bit. So that's the main changes, okay? They're fundamental. Later on next year, towards the end of 2026, as a landlord, you're going to have to register on a portal. As a landlord, you're going to have to put details in there of gas safety, EPC, all kinds of other things. And you're also going to have to join an ombudsman scheme. And if you don't, the fines are between 7,000 and 40,000 for not doing that. So if you're a landlord, please make sure you do it, because otherwise you're not going to be very happy. So they're the fundamental changes. In terms of the grounds, the 36 grounds, although they'll have to believe there are 18, it's going to be important for you as a landlord to be able to evidence those grounds. So if you're going to, I mean, the grounds, for example, are if you're a landlord and want to sell the property, okay, you can do it within certain criteria, but you can do it. But you've got to prove to the court you're selling it. You don't just want to kick the tenant out because they're a nuisance. If you want to move your family in there, family is very wide, right, the range. If you want to move family in there, you can do it, but you've got to prove it to the court. So all of the grounds are going to require you to provide more evidence and more proof. And so that's going to obviously clog down the court system, it's going to slow everything down. And as a landlord, you are going to have to make certain you've got it. One more fundamental change before I forget is this. Rent, you can only increase the rent once a year. And the tenant, if you say you get a tenant in tomorrow at an agreed rent, the tenant's entitled to challenge the rent. Don't they just agree to pay you for the next however long they're going to be there? So a tenant can actually take the property on and then they can apply to the first year property tribunal to challenge your rent that you've just agreed. So just be aware. And it's to cut out greedy landlords who, you know, and the other things they're stopping you having an auction for tenants. They're stopping you. You can't discriminate whether people are DSS or whether they're single parents or whether they've got pets. All of those discrimination things, they're all out. So as a landlord, you've got to be very careful. If you get a checklist of tenants that you've got offered, you've got to be very careful how you select them and make your notes as to why you're selecting them. Obviously, you know, there's ways around all these things, otherwise it wouldn't be a business. But so there are changes. The government hasn't believed the fundamentals. Some of them are, and some of them are not. But the grounds have been widened massively. As I say, there's now 36 grounds. I've actually got the list here, and it only runs to 18. But when I started looking at it, I thought, okay, ground 18 is 2A, 2B, 2Z, 2C. You know, so it's, there are lots of grounds. Any other fundamental things? Ban on bidding war, ban on discrimination. You clear process the tenants with pets. You can't unreasonably refuse pets. So if you've got a one-bedroom flat and they want to bring a Great Dane in there and you refuse, it wouldn't be unreasonable. But generally speaking, it's going to be difficult for a landlord to refuse pets. The landlord can insist on on insurance to cover the cost of the pet damaging their property. So there's that. So that's a very, very broad outline of the sort of changes that come into place. My advice is, don't panic. You've got until the 1st of May under the current regime, so that's fine. If you serve a notice up to 4 p.m. on the 30th of April, that's good, that's valid. And you've got to issue possession proceedings by the 31st of July. So that's the old regime. Okay? From the 1st of May, the new regime kicks in. So all of your tenants, whatever they are now, will suddenly become periodic tenants. And all of the new rules will apply. You don't have to issue new tenancy agreements. There is going to be a statement that you'll have to give your tenants telling them what the change is, and that's not out yet. It's coming out on about the 26th of January. When I get details on round 2, so you've all got them, okay? So that's an outline of what the law is now. That's an outline, a very rough outline of where it's going to be. Just really, I've got an open floor to questions, and I can answer them today. I'd love to. If I can't answer them today, then email me privately and I'll research it for you and I'll give you the answers. Let's put away around the room. Toby.
I mean, lots of areas that I'm not happy with, but one of the ones that concerns me the most is that if you say you get tenants to say that you're going to sell the property, you then can't sell it, you're not allowed to re-let it for 12 months.
Correct.
That concerns me that you can evict a tenant in the space of 3, 4, 5 months. The property market can change completely. May not be as. Do you think that there's going to be some softening of that? Otherwise, we'll have a country full of empty properties.
No. No, I think that this is going to be one of the things that they're going to try and push to try and support the current government, because obviously, you know, the first 18 months ain't been great. I think this is one of the things, along with the Employment Rights Act, they're going to say, look, we told you what we're going to do, we're for the people, this is what we've done. So the short answer is no. In the long term, yes, I think it would change. It has to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Working our way around the room, John.
We rent out my mother's house at the moment. She's in a care home. Obviously, she's the landlord. She's got to fill this out by the 1st of May.
She's got to what, sorry?
She got registered as a landlord.
No, later on in 2026, late 2026. Don't know, haven't got a date yet. She has to register as a landlord and put the EPC, all of the documents on that portal, and separately join an ombudsman scheme, which is a new one that's not in effect yet. So those two things.
Can we do that for her?
Yeah.
We've got an LPA.
Yeah. Jack?
Hello. So, my son George is renting a room in London, £1,200 a month, communal kitchen and bathroom. The landlord who lives there has turned out to be a nutter. George has signed up legally a nutter. Yes, it is. And so, for example, he won't let them use the microwave because it's voodoo. They are a bit dodgy, and you can't use the dishwasher. That is a shelf for storage, and all these things have manifested themselves since he signed it. Does he have the right to back out of his contract?
What it says. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, what more?
Does the Act apply to commercial lets or just residential?
Ah, that was my question.
Can I ask
So following up to that, are there any changes coming through on commercial ones?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Aidan and I worked more on that, but there's nothing at the moment that's like this.
What if the properties are held in a company? Does that make a difference?
No, it's the landlord to landlord. Still.
As we possibly certain notices to tenants,
Yeah.
what about the possession and eviction stages? Are they?
They're all the same.
That's
So I say that they're the same. You have to have a hearing, or you will have to have a hearing, court hearing. And at the moment, you get listed 5-minute court hearing. And that's on the basis you turn up, tenants either there who's got nothing to say, no objection, or they don't turn up at all, you just get fined. What's going to happen is, guess what? Tenants are going to turn up and they are going to dispute it. They're not really set as totally made a point. You're not really selling it. You're not really moving your family in. Rent arrears and things, they are either are or not, they're black and white, yeah? But things that are subjective, if you like, they are going to create. And what they're going to do is, the court system's already broken. It's going to destroy it. Because there's no rollout of reports. There's not going to be any proper courts coming out to deal with all this. But they've done all this, but haven't actually thought about the next thing. But I can work my way through it.
So from the other side, I'm literally just about to sign 2 contracts for 2 daughters for student accommodation. One, these kick in from like either July or August next year. So what are the things that I really need to be looking out for from their perspective?
Send them over, because I've done that with my 2 daughters.
Okay.
And they are the landlords of well, they're the tenant. But they are covered under these grounds. There is provision now for the landlord, the landlord of the student, to serve notice 4 months before, because obviously you've got an academic year, right? September to whatever it is. So there's provision there for the landlord. So there's an exception for the landlord to serve a notice that a normal landlord wouldn't do. So there is an exception. But we'll tell them to send notice.
Short one and a slightly longer one. Did you mention about they're getting rid of auctions for taking on rents in terms of they advertise it at a price and then let people bid on it?
Yeah, it's called bidding wars, and that's going to be out the window. So in my experience, I usually, if I've got a flat to let, I get a list of tenants, yeah, and I look through it. I don't do that because I'm not a greedy landlord, so I look at it, and to me, it's the right person rather than the right money. But yeah, what they're doing is they're stopping bidding wars. There is a rent advertised, and you can't then say the rent's £1,000 a month, but Sally offered £1,200 a month, so I'm going to let Sally. That's wrong. You cannot do that. If you did that, then the other tenants would be entitled to sue the landlord for breach of.
Well, that's good because it stops commercial people
It's very
potentially out
good.
in
Yeah, no, it's very good. Some of it, I'm not saying it's all bad, it's good, but it is smoke and mirrors, right?
But the other one was why are they getting rid of fixed term rentals? Because that, as you say, seems quite beneficial to
Yeah, because what they said it's in favour of tenants, so that the tenant can give 2 months' notice at any time. So just literally, you just say, I've had enough, I'm going to move on. If I was a tenant,
it's nice to have security, isn't it?
I like it to have a year or 2 years. I find a property I like it, really like it, yeah, it's lovely. I'd like this for 2 years, or maybe longer. So I don't know what I'm thinking. That's what I believe the thinking is. It's not great to me.
You can't serve notice for until 10 months or something.
12 months. Is the first
Well, 10 months effectively because you can serve 2 months.
Yeah.
So they do have 12 months.
Yeah, I know. All one enough. Totally.
So similar to my earlier question, what concerns about the future? At the moment, everybody advises tenants just to go for the full eviction and they're not making themselves homeless. Do you think there's going to come a situation?
No, they don't.
No, not everybody.
That's only if they're
Councils.
looking to be rehoused by local authorities.
Yes, yeah.
If you've got a private tenant who wants to move into another private accommodation, they wouldn't do that
No.
because they get a possession order against them and they're going to get all of the costs against them.
Yeah.
So a tenant that wants to move on will get your notice period and they'll move on through that number.
Yeah, so I meant for local authority. Do you think there's going to become a situation where tenants automatically, by default, challenge the rent increase because it goes to tribunal? It doesn't cost them anything to go to tribunal. It only costs the landlord, and all the time it's at tribunal, the rent doesn't go up, and it's not backdated.
The clued up ones probably will, yeah. Yeah. Someone can't be asked, and that's fine. If you've got ordinary working people, not that bothered, they think the rent's reasonable, they won't. But yeah, you're quite right. It's open to abuse in that way, and there ain't a lot to do about it. I don't think.
It is important for us to remember that most tenants are actually okay, and they do want life stability.
Yeah,
They
we're
do
talking about
want
the
to stay.
extremes, right? Yeah, we're talking about the people at the extremes either end. But yeah, you're right. It's open to abuse. And during the time while it's being considered, there ain't any rent increase. And when you get the rent increase, if you get your rent increase,
Yeah.
it's not backdated.
Right.
So it's quite a cute thing to do. And the property tribunal, like the courts, guess what? When all this starts flooding, they're going to be like the swamp.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, man.
You mentioned if you were to sell a property or move family, you go to prove it in court. Is
Yeah.
that regardless or just an tenant disputes it?
No, regardless, you have to be prepared to prove it. So you've got to be prepared to go to court because there will be a hearing.
Oh, there will be.
Under the new regime, there will be a hearing.
Right.
At the moment, you can get possession without a hearing. If you've got paperwork in order, the tenant doesn't dispute it, you get all the days. Under the new regime, whatever your grounds are, whichever of the 1 to 18/36 grounds are, you have to go to court. Now, it might be simple. If it's rent arrears, there are rent arrears or they're not, right? If it's this situation, then you'll be required to provide evidence of that. What's happening to you with your family if you're selling it? You can't renew your mortgage, whatever it might be.
So really, the final and the right course.
I think completely, yes.
Does it apply to HMOs?
There are separate rules for HMOs. They're really complex. I won't answer that now. I'm still getting my head around the HMO one. It's bad enough to get your head around the rest of it, but yeah.
Things like joining the ombudsman scheme of production, there's going to be a fee for that. Is that
Watch your mouth out of the sun.
is it where be property or
No.
landlord?
So you'll, as a landlord, you'll have to register as a landlord, and then your properties you'll put on this portal. You'll put it on the portal, and over here you've got to join an ombudsman scheme for residential property written in. You have to do it. If you don't, then it's fine. It's not massive.
Does the ombudsman scheme, does it provide a hearing process to determine issues, or
The
do
scheme's not been done yet, Aidan. It's still working on it. I don't know. Maybe. You're getting one. Got an invoice here.
I'm about to about 10 reviews today. One thing that seems crazy to me is that the whole thing going back to selling your property is that you've got to provide evidence that you're selling it, but you're not allowed to start marketing that property until you've got the eviction process. So you've got no evidence that you're going to sell the property.
I don't know how it can work out, you know. And at the moment, one of the grounds is you can do it on the basis you're selling it. You've got to sell it. And there's also lots of grounds, there's about 4 grounds about mortgages where the mortgage is taking possession proceedings. So they're all in there. But yeah, you're right. It's not, some of it's not well thought out.
Yeah.
But don't worry too much about it.
Good job they listened to the NRLA and other bodies like that and really took note of what they said. Angry landlord.
Terry, well done.